And here we go. All right, another one. We got another video here. Another one for the playlist for the book from Vishnu Warriors book, tournament guidebook that is coming out. With that being said, today we're looking at the blocker, aka the blockade, right? Stuff like that, So we're gonna look at that today. And in today's game, this is actually 2 players, and let me see what the details are. This was played. Actually, there's no date. Oh, is this a date? 1937. Dang, this was an old game for real. But it is Enrique Iglesias versus Solomon Floor. So, all right, let's see. Hey, Canty Spanish. Oh, that's what that is. And Michigan and YME and a me. Yes, says Lucas. Yo, thanks Turbird for the sub. Absolutely, big shout out to Turbird and also Gen X. Thanks for the gift. It's like, oh, we made it to level 5 here with time to spare. Thank you so much for that support. Today, guys, we are looking at the blocker. Now, this is what I mean. Magic Like Towel, thanks for gifting another one, bro. 93%. We almost at 100%. Let's go. Level 5 at 93%. Thanks, bro. Okay, guys. So, with that being said, the blocker. Now, anyone seen, of course, not anyone seen. I'm sure everyone has seen a blocked shot before in basketball, right? I'm sure everyone has seen a blocked shot before in basketball. Is that correct? Right, I'm sure everyone knows what that is. Yo, test name, ignore Endgameologist. It is hype through here. Wow. Yo. Okay. Yo, man, that's a lot of love right there. That's a lot of love, bro. Level 5, and it extended over to 138% on the hype train. That is nuts. Gameologist gifting the sub. Test name, ignore, with another 5-piece and a biscuit on top of that. Appreciate it. Hype says Dougie Fresh. That's right. What's basketball? Funny. You funny. Look, so check this out. Block shot. Here it is. Hold on. Let me move this over. Let me show y'all what we're looking at. Boom. These are block shots. One of these I've actually used for the thumbnail. But these are block shots. And with this being block shots, right, you want to think of today's analysis as exactly the same. You want to think of today's analysis is exactly the same. Blocking the shot. Blocking the shot. I hope you're with me now. I hope you're with me. Okay. Now let's get to the analysis. We're going to look at something that blocks all the time, and it helps you win games and also helps you with all kind of things outside of just blocking whatever you're blocking. Thank you for everyone for giving a sub. That's right. Thanks to everybody to get the subs there. It says we made it to a level 4, but obviously we saw that we made it to a level 5 hype train. But thank you so much for that, guys. I appreciate that. Hand down, man down. This Magic Like Towel. All right, here we go. Game time. Here it is. D4, Knight of 6. C4, G6. You mean like Giannis? There you go, Josh. You okay? G6, Knight C3, D5. We got a Grunfeld, right? And very popular opening. Very drawish at the higher levels too as well. It depends on what line you're going through. There are a lot of forced draws, but again, if White's trying to play for a win, then Black's just fine in these forced draw lines. After D5, Bishop F4. This line I was actually a big fan of. I was actually a fan of from the black pieces. And in fact, right here, you can actually play, well, Bishop G7 is the move. And then after E3, there's a C5 move right now. I'm very aggressive. I love playing these kind of openings. C5 followed by Queen A5, Knight A6 type action. You also have Knight H5 and castling. But the most aggressive is usually the C5 lines. I haven't studied this theory in a while. Literally months. I haven't been through this theory. But after E3, I do know C5 is a move, followed by takes and Queen A5. After Queen A5, then you can take on C4, especially after Rook to C1. After Rook C1, you're going to castle. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, actually, after that. There's like a Bishop D7, Knight A6, B5, Bishop. Bro, it gets nuts. I studied a lot of this. After E3, there's castles, Knight F3, and C5 played. Now, after C takes D5, Knight takes D5, all theory. Reason why we're going to blow through these moves is because we want to get to the part where you can be involved here in the chat and also talk about the blocker, the #1 blocker and the best at doing it. And what is he doing, right? Is blocking a pawn or pieces for that matter, but definitely pawns. This is a 57 move game. We're at 7 moves right now, so we're gonna fly through a lot of this because this is basic, theory in a way. Bishop E5, I have never in my life ever seen. So Bishop E5 is definitely something new here. But we're about to see the rest of it. Knight takes, B takes, and we're still in Grunfeld territory here. Now, Bishop takes E5, I probably would have played, and then followed by Queen A5, but Black chose C takes D4. Bishop takes, king takes, c takes d4, queen a5, right? Standard Grunfeld type positions, queen goes to a5, white has a center. Usually you can get a passed d-pawn that you have to watch with the black pieces, but black has a lot of play around the center with rook to d8, knight c6, e5, bishop e6. So we're going to play on the center, and also we do have a 2 versus 1 advantage on the queen side, which actually is a huge advantage when it comes to endgames. So if we trade pieces off, we actually have 2 versus 1 here, which is really nice. 2 pawns versus this 1. So that's going to help us a lot in the end game. Queen to d2, which happens all the time, and instead of just immediately trading, allowing the king to go to d2. Why would I take with the king? Because now we've reached sort of an end game, And because the queens are off here, so now we have to get the rest of the pieces out. Obviously, something like bishop d3, bringing the rook to the file with a smile, one of them, and putting some pressure on black's position. They always say to take is a mistake. You learn that from Igor Smirnov. But to take is a mistake. That's not always a thing. What that means is, before I capture, is it better for them or is it better for me? That's what you should ask yourself. So knight to c6 is the move here. Knight to c6 saying, okay, you take, I take, but at least your king is still on e1, which saves me an extra tempo, which is very important. One tempo could win the game. So after knight c6, bishop e2, I'm out the way, have a nice day. Rook d8, very simple. All the plans are very, very easy here, guys. We're literally going to fly through a lot of this. We're going to get to like move 30 real quick because there's 57 moves here. And all this is usual stuff you'll see in the Grunfeld anyway. Okay, queen takes, knight takes a5. Okay, and after this, castles and bishop e6. So we develop our pieces, sort of a standard game. In fact, engines give this equal, slightly better for black. Slightly better, even though white has 2 pawns in the center versus 1, which is usually some type of advantage if you know how to work it. But 2 pawns are better than 1 in the center. But we do have something to offset it. We do, again, have the queen side majority, which is usually an advantage in endgames. It's better than having the king side majority, which is strange, but it is better than having the king side majority when it comes to endgames if you study your endgames. So queen side majority, slightly better than having the king side majority. And we can create a passed pawn in the center, but 100% cannot actually be used because this pawn can be stopped very easily with the king maneuver or the bishop and the rook. But these, on the other hand, as trades happen, these might be slightly harder to stop, especially if I'm able to recover or take this a2 pawn. Now I have 2 passed pawns. That's a wrap. Start a new game. So after bishop e6, he plays e4. Very strong move here, e4, and which is something you see all the time in the Grunfeld positions. What's up, Jess? What's going on? After e4, there's bishop g4, right? Put pressure on the center. The whole idea of the Grunfeld hypermodern opening is to give up the center to attack it relentlessly. Let's put that in there. Relentlessly much later. So as soon as he gets these pawns mobile, oh, it's time to go to work, says black here. After bishop g4. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Says shut up, Mukuba. 313 too. 313 in the building. Yeah, thanks for the follow. Bishop g4, rook f to d1, defending d4 because I was going to remove the defender and then take on d4. Very simple. e6 from black here and king f1. Okay, guys. Now we're gonna make a few more moves here, and then I'm gonna ask you guys because we're getting close to where you can actually participate here. This is a longer game, 57 moves, so we want to move through the first part pretty quickly here. King f1, bishop takes f3, and takes, saying your bishop is worse than my knight. My knight has some squares to go to, maybe knight c4 here, knight d6, knight e5, knight b6. I can play, you know, your bishop isn't the greatest, but of course at the same time I have a lot of play. Rook a to c8, we put the rooks to the files with the smiles, and you always want to, again, look at the skeleton pawn structure. The pawn structure is the GPS of the game. They say this all the time. I learned this from Arthur Kogan. I was taking lessons with him in 2019. Strong grandmaster, used to actually work with Hikaru a little bit, and he's coached other 2600 GMs. So I thought it was time to work with that man. He taught me a lot and about the skeleton pawn structure here. The pawn structure is the GPS of the game. So if you understand what the pawn structure is, you know what the rest of the game should be like, or at least plans-wise, due to experience and also studying on your end. After rook a to c8, there's rook to d2. After rook d2, we see e5, right? So let's look at this again. Rook d2, right? There's a pin here, so he wants to exploit the pin by playing e5 here. But the problem with e5 is that, you know, many times in the Grunfeld, the worst thing you want to worry about, or the only thing most times, is this d pawn when it gets passed. Now, Bobby Fischer says to get squares, you have to give squares. So if you want to get a square, You have to give up a square to do so, right? And a lot of times it's hard to do that as a player. And a lot of times you'll hear students or even chess players, I didn't want to do this because I didn't want to give him that, right? So if you give them something, what did you get in return, right? So yes, okay, I played e5, right? Wow, that's deep. Yeah, Bobby Fischer, absolutely. You know, e5 and d5. So yes, I gave you the d pawn, but I also made your bishop absolutely gross. It looks like a pawn, my guy. Absolutely, take that boy back to where you got it from. That is not a move. So I mean, of course, d5 is a move, but this is an absolutely gross bishop. And white, but on the other hand, right, and white's like, I got to pass pawn though, which, I mean, again, we talked about how weak, not weak, but this is, yeah, this is a pass pawn, but I'm not afraid of this. I mean, you should be more afraid of my pass pawns where your king is further away, which easily could get over there. Actually, maybe not easily due to the cutoff rook. Rook cutting the king off. But our king can easily get here and blockade, or maybe using the rook or even the knight. With knight to c4 being the next move. And now after rook to e2, chat, it's on you. It's on you now, chat. It is on you to make this move here, right? And we're going to talk about this right here. It is black to move. Chat, what do you do? What do you do? What are you going to do here, chat? Now, remember, the name of this is called the blocker. The blocker. You trying to shoot the basketball? We block those. We take those all day and every day, every time, every way. Knight d6, knight d6. We got b5. The blocker, says Dr. Giuliano. Knight d6, f5. f5. Boring. Oh, yeah, this is definitely boring. Phantom Master one, not one of my favorites. But it's very educational. Sometimes some of your favorites and some of the stuff you need isn't the most fun, right? But this is a lesson that you do need today. Knight to d6, knight d6, knight d6 for the block. That's right, guys. Knight d6. Knight d6. Okay. Okay. And now we have reached today's analysis, right? This is the part that we really wanted to talk about right here is knight to d6. This move right here. This blocks the pawn, the d pawn. The best blockader, or they say a blockade. In fact, this is a lesson. Hope you got your notepads ready. Or if not, make sure you watch this YouTube video 10 times exactly, right? It has to be 10 times. Now, with that being said, right, when let's start here. The most important square for a pawn is the square in front of it. That is from that's from Boris. And Boris Spassky says that the most important square for a pawn is the square in front of it. So number one, we control that. Number two, the best piece to blockade a pawn is what? Raise your hand, class. You over there. Yeah, absolutely. Knight d6, right? The knight on d6, or a knight period, is the best blockader of any pawn. Reason being is because now we don't limit the knight's scope. It can still go to c4. It can go to b5 and d4. I can also help prepare f5. The knight still defends b7 at the same time. If you have a rook here, it's not the same. Rooks, queens, even bishops, or even a king does not want to blockade the pawn. This is not the piece. The piece is made to block stuff is the knight. It is the knight. You gave squares, but got the c file. That's right. That's right. We gave them the d5 square and the d5 pawn, but we have this monster knight on d6, and he has this bishop that's not even existing right now. In fact, this reminds you of the winter, almost, not really, but kind of like the winter game. If anyone is familiar with famous games, you can look up Capablanca Winter, or actually it was Winter Capablanca, Capa played black. Can't remember what year it was, but it was back in the day, obviously. But Winter played white, and he had a terrible bishop on g3 where he could never move it for like the rest of the game. But Winter had a terrible bishop. Capablanca had a great position because of it. So this kind of reminds you of that. It's just all shifted to the light squares because that was a dark square problem that was in that game. No c pawn to harass the knight. Importantly, correct. The knight is now on a very nice outpost. We would love to be further up, obviously, maybe in white's half of the board with this blockade, but we're fine with the knight on d6. With that being said, we know what we want. We know we got the blocker, right, which is the knight here. Now we got other work to do. This is still work to do, folks. After knight to d6, there's rook to b1. So he plays rook b1, which really doesn't attack anything, but it is on you, chat. It is on you. What would you play in this position? What would you play? There's 3 moves from the engine giving here. Let's see what you play. White to move. Sorry, black to move. King f8, and it's almost made. That is terrible, Turd Bird. King f8 is not almost made anywhere at all. But King f8 actually is a pretty solid move, I think. King f8 is pretty solid. Shook season. What's up, Shook? It's good. B6 from McLarge. Just play F5. Says Van 303. I like the F5 move. I think the problem with F5 is it tries to help his bishop get out too a little bit though, which is kind of annoying. Rook to C something, maybe C4. Pawn Island's got it. That's it. Pawn Island was the first to get it. Rook to C4 for the score. Now, of course, you had other moves here. Rook C4 was actually the number 3 move on the engine. In fact, H5, which is nobody's looking at H5. Nobody's looking at H5. And then I think it was another one, like Rook C3 or something, right? How does that bishop get, how does that help the bishop get out? If you play F5 after it takes, right? Takes, and then, well, actually, shoot, this is hanging. Look at that. So that's even terrible. Like, now you just drop the pawn immediately. But also, I mean, think about this. The bishop's blocked, and then let's say he couldn't take this, right? Let's say this was defended. But I mean, now I can play something like G3 or even G4 right now. And now it's the more pawn trades you do, the better my bishop gets. Think about that. The more pawn trades you do, period, the better the person with the bishops is going to have a better position. So if you got bishops, open a position, even at the cost of sacrificing a pawn or two. If you don't have the bishops, you need to keep it locked as much as you can and try not to trade pawns, because if you do, you're going to activate the person that has the bishop. So after rook to B1, rook to C4. And then G3 was played, trying to activate the bishop, I'm assuming. Maybe like this route. Like, I don't know what he's doing, honestly. G3, maybe bishop G2, F4. I have no idea. But after G3, rook D to C8 and bishop G2. So that's what happens, right? Rook C1 check, takes, rook E1, take those. Here we go. Buster Cap 79 with the 100. Thanks for the 100 biddies. Appreciate you. All right, guys, we got a pure endgame here. And I mean, maybe not pure. Pure is really like king and pawns versus king and pawns. But this one is pretty close. Knight versus bishop, where you have a bad bishop versus a very good knight. So with that being said, all right, chat, let's see. Let's test your endgame here. What are you going to do? Black to move. Black to move. Test your endgame here, and you better get this right. You better get this right. Black to move. What do? You got multiple moves here, so I will take any of the 3 that the engine gives here. We got F5 from Turbo, A6 from Shut Up, Mr. Charm from says Knight C4 for the score. We got a B5 stir. March the King from Joshua. March the King, where would you go? Joshua. A5, Death by Lactose. F5 from Xanax, put pawns in dark squares. B5 from Greg, hybrid with the F5. Thanks for the follow, Kitchens. I want to move to the dark squares, turn out that bishop. Very good. Very good. Okay, chess dude guy. Okay. Okay, bro. Oh, yeah, you at the right place. King F8, King F6, block the tricks. Wow. Oh, that was nice. Phantom Master Conjure. I'm impressed there. Don't get too carried away, though. King F6 is actually number 1 on the engine. Number 2 is A5, and number 3 is B5. What Floor here, what Solomon played, was F5. F5 I'm not a fan of, and the reason it being is the same reason before. I'm not trying to help his bishop out at all. In fact, F5 will be the last choice I think of. In fact, if he plays F4, I'm going to play F6, just to highlight the fact that his bishop is absolutely terrible. In fact, I actually want to try to make this route, or even remember my pawns here, right? You know, the pawn structure. What's the skeleton pawn structure? The GPS is the pawns. The pawns tell you what you should do. So to be honest, I'm actually looking to either go around this route, get the king up here, and even getting to a square like A3. That's going to take a while, but if it is possible, try to get the king to A3. Or use these pawns as decoys and bait using Fox in the Chicken Coop, which is found from Jeremy Silman's in-game course, Fox in the Chicken Coop. Which means what we're going to do is, ideally, right, plans and ideas over the moves and the moves. Ideally, you want plans, ideas, and the moves is ideally what you want. You want to have the plan, you want to have the ideas, and you want to have the moves. But if you can't remember all the moves, then you want to have the plans that can try to lead you to the moves if you forget them, or technique-wise. Here, technique, plan, right? Here's a great plan. Get this king to this side of the board over here. So maybe somehow getting this up here. Somehow getting here, and let's say he cuts us off, which is very likely. When that happens, we're going to sacrifice our 2 pawns for this 1, and then we're going to use the king while he's over here dealing with this king. We're going to use these pawns as decoys, Fox in the Chicken Coop. Go over here and go take these pawns, even getting the king to D4, while you're dealing with the extra pass pawn on this side of the board. That's a plan. I just gave you a whole plan. So you need to use this right? So now you can make moves faster because you already have a plan, right? So as opposed to just let me go here, let me go here. Don't work. Don't work. So try again. So after king takes e1, and with that, all that being said, black does play f5 though. F5, that's the move from the game. And after f5, there was f3. After f3, there was takes on e4, takes on e4. Now we played b5, king d2, a5. After a5, king d3, king f6. All right, it's a march. Let's see what happens. Bishop f3, king e7. Okay, h4, h6. Bishop d1, king d8. a4, and then it's on you, chat. What you gonna do? After a4, are you taking or are you pushing? Are you taking or are you pushing? It is on you. Are you taking or are you pushing? Very simple question. See your answer. B4 from A Dizzle, B4 from Greg Lars. Push, says Dr. Juliana. Push. Everybody like push, push, push. Canty, push. What are you talking about? HB Dobbs says neither. King C7. King C7 is actually move number 2 on the engine. Great job. Number 1 is B4, right? Now, what's not on the engine is the move that was played, which is B takes A4. What is this? Now, it is a move, honestly. But B4 just makes most sense. Now, I think I do actually blame it on time as well, which I'm sure, and by time, I mean, it says the event date was September 8th, 1937. So if you think about that, 1937 chess was definitely completely different then. But, I mean, you know, B takes A4 in this day and time, like, as an in-game player, or playing the in-game now, like, you're going to play B4. Like, it just makes sense to play B4. Why? Because the bishop is absolutely disgusting, right? You have even another pawn. Now you have, you know, if we take on A4, the bishop now has scope. Yes, I have to watch the pawn. I know. But I would be better, I would feel better, at least, as white, if I had the scope of the bishop, like I do now, as opposed to, bro, what am I doing? I have to defend this. I got pawns here. I can't pin. Like, I can't do anything. Like, this sucks. Sucks. Black about to lose, says Greg Lars. Black about to lose, he says. Right, so B4. Okay, so B4 did not happen. B takes A4 happened. Thanks for the follow, Jad. And then after bishop takes A4, he says black about to lose. Greg's scared here. Greg don't know what to do. Greg, in fact, this tells us right here that you need to study your end games. Okay, right now, right now, go study your end games, like right now. So after bishop takes A4 here, in fact, why is this like, it's not winning? It's not, oh, I'm just winning, right? It's nowhere near that. I'm here then, right? It's nowhere near that. It's nowhere near that at all. It's nowhere near like this being a complete win. But I do have an asset. I have a huge asset. In fact, I have the outside pass pawn. This is the asset that can help me win the game because I can use it as a decoy or a deviation or whatever I want to use it as white's trying to figure this thing out. Greg quivering, right? King C7 from Skiptastic. Looks drawish to me. It can definitely be drawish, but black is definitely playing for more due to the fact that I do have the outside pass pawn. And the blocker here, the whole title of today's video, the blocker, look at this knight on d6 looking crazy. What's the engine says? The engine says that it's minus 0.86. So roughly equal. Literally roughly equal. An equal game, say the least, especially playing as a human. But who would you prefer to be here, right? Black. You would definitely prefer to be black here because I have the knight on d6 on the blocking square, blockading the pawn. I have range still. Your bishop's not the easiest to use. It also has 2 pawns blocking the scope. And it's 2 pawns in the center. Usually the bishop is the strongest because of he can cross through the center. Think about that. When a bishop is its strongest, it crosses like through the center. But you actually can't do anything with the center at all. In fact, your bishop hits is what we call air. Your bishop hit the air right now. Like you see how I'm hitting air, swinging at air. That's what your bishop doing right now. It's doing nothing at all. So with that being said, especially with the only piece it can hit is this pawn, which is, I mean, I could play g5 at any moment. With that being said, king c7 is the move. Whiff, right? Whiff, come on. This is a bit like a ready study. Black has to protect the knight and chase. Right, correct. So black can play for more. After king c7, bishop c2. White is just sitting around. I have to defend this pawn. I don't have scope for my bishop. I gotta watch this. It's too many things going on. Black should have played g5 here, which is totally a move, and a reason for it. Guys, put all your pawns on dark squares. Engine says g5 here, and like, I mean, it's -1. King b6 is still a move, which is the game move. King b6, totally fine. But g5 just makes sense. Get the piece, all your pieces off of the dark, off the light squares. So now black never, or white never can attack you. And now it's just a matter of finesse and trying to really grow this thing, or, you know, slow ball this thing out. You see Magnus play these kind of positions, and some of the greats, where they just play these positions out all the way through until you see a mistake by someone. Bishop c2, king b6, king c3, king b5. Now king c5 is a move as well, but he chose king b5, king b3, then he went king c5, and then king a4. Now remember, we talked about fox in the chicken coop in a way, where you're going to actually use this pawn as a decoy so we can take some of these. But if you go king d4 and let him take, and you take on here, now you are here looking crazy. You have blocked with your whole face here. Oh my goodness, this is a family channel. Send a stretcher to his address. We got it on file. Sheesh, that's a wrap. You're not stopping this pawn, and you just lost this game. Oh my goodness, he done blocked with his whole face. So that is not a move. So don't do this. Don't do this ever. Don't do this, because you're in front. You're like way behind the pawn in a way. Like his boy is ahead of you, right? And I know a lot of y'all in the chat has done this before. That is not a move. Let him know, Dante. Say it 2 times, please. Thank you very much. I don't think people in the back heard that one. Mr. Charm, help. Charge ahead. Yeah, right. Thanks for the follow, Harry. So instead of king to d4, chat, what is another move that you would make in this position? Instead of king d4, put a score and blocking with your whole face in front of national television, right? Oh, instead of king d4, what do? Thanks for the follow. It's your boy Show. Thank you, man. Thanks for the follow. Tycorn says 6. He just put the number 6. I have no idea what that means. I have no idea. Let's see, watching Hikaru. Hey, that's nice. Yo, my God. Yeah, I mean, you should have them all in the background all the time. Knight c4 and block with your face. Steal, says Xanax. b6, g5, knight c4 from Sadie. Take with the pony, says Mustachiola. 6. Bro, just 6. Like, that's funny. Now they going crazy out here. 6. What's the move? Fries. Shout out to Fine Go, right? What you be saying? The answer is hold up, I got it. In 1987, yep. Wind, northeast, yep. Fries. Got it. Got it. Knight b5. Yeah, it's knight c4, bro. It's knight c4. That's what he played. Knight c4. Defending a5. Defending a5. Very nice move. Bishop b3. Very logical. Because if you, man, look. Go ahead, let me take this. If you let me take this, hey, bro, just get up quietly. Walk away. You know, just get up. Sign the score sheet. You're done for the day. Go home. Go home. You ain't playing no more tournaments for a while. If you let me take this knight, it's night. Okay? So this is, you won't be able to stop this pawn from queening at all. So he's threatening bishop takes c4, chat. So what do? He's threatening bishop takes c4. You have to do something right now. You have to respond or don't. The choice is yours. It's easy to fall off cliff. All right, rewind dragon right, you know. Knight d2, knight d3, b2. Okay. Knight b6, knight d2. Engine recommends 6. 6. Just 6, bro. I mean, yeah, it's just 6, you know. Just 6, ain't nothing to it. 6, come on. Knight d2, fork the bishop and the pawn. You can go knight d2, knight b2. Yeah, that's right. You guys are right. You guys are right. I have seen it. The choice is yours. Yeah, Jigsaw, right. Knight d2, knight d2. Keeping the king, access to the d6 square, hitting b3, also hitting e4 at the same time. Bishop c2, defending. And now, guys, this is why it's very good to understand the kind of piece that you have in an endgame. When you're reaching an endgame, even before you reach the endgame, right? Let's fast forward. We're going to come right back to move 43. Right, all the way back here, right? Even right here, you have to know, right? You have to start thinking about the end game from the middle game. Okay, you can write that down, play this video back 1,000 times. You have to start thinking about the end game from the middle game. That's very hard to do, extremely hard to do. This is too hard for me. No wonder I'm rated 600. That's okay. It's your boy Show. Hey, man, go to YouTube, right? Check out the most recent playlist. There's like 40 videos in there. Watch every single video. every single one. And you probably gonna go from 600 to about 1,000, which is 1,000, right? So I got you, my guy. Hey, Canty, in tournaments, sometimes the top players go for quick Berlin draw. I don't understand why. Is it as mental energy for other matches? That is 100% correct. Yes, preserving energy. It also depends on the score. Maybe they don't want to play each other. There's all kind of things that happens. Here on Dragon says, raid alert. Well, let's wait for that. Let's see who's coming through. I'm starting to realize this by watching Canty play. Yo, thanks, Dante. Appreciate you, bro. Ski. You already know. You already know, Ski. Let me actually put this on mute. Still hear me right? Okay. So I just muted the desktop audio because if we about to have this raid come through, I gotta actually change the raid sound so I don't get the copyright thing. I have been starting to realize this. Oh yeah, my guy. Gotta have a long range scope. That's right. Cheers, Canty. Cheers to you, Sam Hain. Thank you so much. All right. So, all right, right here, remember what we said is you have to start thinking about the end game from the middle game, right? Even back here, Let's go. Let's see how far we can go back when you can start thinking about the middle game. Which YouTube playlist on your channel, Canty? Katu Khan. It's the one. It's the tournament guidebook one. The tournament one. There's 40 videos in there. It's like at least 40 in there. At least. Right. So, but think about this. Even back here, right? As soon as D5 happened, boom. As soon as D5, thank you, Canty, no problem. As soon as D5 happened, Tycorn says, yo, raid incoming from twitch.tv/6. That was just hilarious. So here, right here, now you can already start thinking about the end game. You should. You should. I'm a sound engineer and I can get you a new sound. Hit me up. Oh, hey, bro, Dante. Yeah. Hit me in Discord. I'm definitely down for that. And when you're in the mid game and you can see your new pawn groupings, you can see your pawn groupings going forward. Project in game. What do you think? That's right. In fact, this is why you need to study pawn structures, right? Phantom Master Klendrick, send me a Discord message and say pawn structures book. In this YouTube video, I am going to link a book for pawn structures for you to understand. You should buy them. You should buy this book and you should actually read it when it comes to pawn structures so you can understand what you should be doing based off the pawn structure. Also, you need an in-game book as well. Phantom Master Klendrick, send me a message, say in-game as well. Pawn structures and in-game. I'm gonna link it in the YouTube video so you guys know what kind of in-games you should be going to. And in fact, I'm actually gonna give you guys the best in-game book, which is the Dvoretzky in-game manual. I have went through Jeremy Silman's in-game course. I do recommend you go through it. It does have it categorized all the way up to 2200, which is cool. It's telling you, hey, if at your rating, this is what you should know. You can check right now, actually, under the About tab for that book. The not reassess, that one's another one. But Jeremy Silman's in-game, I think Dvoretzky's under there too, under my recommendations for books. But Jeremy Silman's in-game course is very nice. But the upgrade to that, right, understanding, in fact, what I learned from Dvoretzky was this. 2 pawns and 1 pawn. I learned this from Dvoretzky's in-game manual. It said that 2 pawns versus 1 on the queen side is the stronger advantage. Usually is an advantage. Usually, and they said it's better than having the king side majority. I never knew that. Who knows that? Who knows that, right? The queen side majority is better than the king side. Never knew that, but then I read Dvoretzky and they put me on game 2 times. I also learned in there, here's another tip, right? When you're about to queen, king, and knight versus pawn, if you are 1 square diagonally, think about this, like thinking cap, put your thinking cap on, all right? When your thinking cap's on, if a king is 1 square diagonally away from a knight and the pawn is on the outside of the king, this is a lot of stuff, right? You're able to push this pawn and the knight can't catch you. You have to be 1 square diagonally for this to work. So this is actually very understandable. And you know the technique is to make sure I stay 1 square diagonally from this knight so that I can queen this outside pawn. That's something you learn from Dvoretzky. It's deep understanding stuff. Very, very deep. But again, you want to be making sure you're looking at your end games while you're in your middle games. So here, D5, knight C4, all the way right here, I'm already thinking in game. These are solid recommends. Oh, cop them all, Huron. Stop playing out here. Knight D6, Rook B1, Rook C4. He doubled and said, we about to go to the end game. We're going to the game, my guy. All right, so check up, check, takes, and now we reach the end game. Fast forward to move 43 where we left off. 43. Okay, so now after bishop c2, this was the last move. Bishop c2 defending the pawn. Black to move. Now that we have the knight, it can jump around, it can do all these things, and the bishop is stuck really defending e4 and d5. All right, Chad, it's on you. Black to move. What do you do? What do you do, champ? Knight f1 from Wood. Push. Says knight to f1. Knight f1 from Mr. Charm. Okay. What else are we looking at, chat? Knight f1. Knight f1 for sure. Oh, Shadow says knight f1 for sure. a5, then knight f1. a5. Well, it is black's move. a5 is right here. You mean h5. h5, I think, maybe it's not a blunder, but you have to think about this. Once again, Darth Mambo, you know, he has a light square bishop. The last thing you want to do is put these pawns on light squares. These are targets. So if you put it on a dark square, then the bishop never gets there to the pawn. Blah, we call it, yeah. 94, here it is, guys. It's knight f1. You guys got it right. Knight f1 was it. King takes f5. Obvious move for us. Takes on g3, king a4. All right, chat. And for your next one. And for your next move, chat, what do you have? What do you have? I can't hear anything because commercials are okay. When you get back, let us know, Dark Mambo. I'll answer that for you. G5, Oak Shadow, and G5. Dang. Boy, everybody trying to play G5. Wow. Hey, boy, G5 crazy out here. G6, G5, Trey pawns in G5. Yeesh. Everybody playing G5. All right, just 5. Stop. Para in. Thanks for the follow. All right, so look. In fact, I'm going to give you the moves from the engine first. Move number 1 is 92, which is really hard to see, to be honest. 92 is not something I'm actually, like, considering at all. I was not considering 92. Knight f1. I actually like knight f1. I mean, kind of, but, like, kind of not. It's kind of strange. Knight f1. But actually, I mean, it is preparing pushing. So, okay, knight f1. And 92 does prepare pushing as well. Now, and then you guys said, what else in the chat? G5. G5 is move number 3 on the engine, which actually does work. I mean, G5, why not? But what was played here, which is not any of the moves that was considered, and it was knight h5, which immediately makes it equal after the move that was played, which is king b3. So here there was some technique involved, and you know this wasn't the most accurate from black here, but it's still very playable. And we do have the knight versus the bishop, and the bishop is absolutely gross due to his pawns being on the same color as him. So after king b3, king d4, centralize the king. We are not worried about d6 as well at all because we have knight f6. And we can come back around and snag that pawn pretty easily. After king d4, king b4, trying to box the man out. Knight f6 and then d6. He pushes that boy, right? Okay, now it's time for g5, chat. Now it's time. G5 and we live. Snap, snap. And then king b5. Okay, push him, right? Pass pawns must be pushed. G4, bishop d1. G3, bishop f3. All right, chat, it's on you. Can you finish this? Is it winning? Is it not? What do you do here? Right? This is a scary one. A lot of y'all can still lose this game as black. A lot of you. So it is, you need to pay attention here. Take your time. If you need to, take a deep breath. Okay, breathe. Turn your lightsaber off. Don't hurt yourself. What do? Black to move. Just fifth person. Thanks for the follow. King e3 from A Dizzle. Third engine move is still winning. King e3 from Dr. Giuliano. Says king e3. King e3, get that bishop for free. Okay, that was nice, Neo. All right, nice. That was very nice. I like that. King e3, get that bishop for free. Yeah, he's learning. He's learning. King e3, that was dirty. Yeah, that didn't rhyme. Take it back. Your move doesn't count. King e3, king d7. Blocker, says BustaCap79. Okay. King e3. King e3, king d7. Knight d7 first, then king e3. Well, knight d7, in fact, if knight d7, I'm actually going towards you now, and I'm a little bit closer. And that's a little bit scary. You don't actually want this to happen. King e3 is the right move. King e3, right? That's for me. Bishop h1, right? Says, oh, yeah, I'm a sack. I don't even care. Go ahead, bro. As soon as you get there, I'm going to take this as fast as you got there. I promise you. I promise you on everything. I'm going to take this pawn if you play g2. So he plays bishop h1. All right, chat. Well, what do you do now? Finally, G2, sneaking past the bishop, 94. Ooh, scores. I don't know about that. In fact, after 94 for the score, you thinking you're doing good, and then I push, and this actually equals out to a draw. In fact, everything is drawn except if you go knight f2, and now you are here looking crazy. Like, don't do this to yourself. Don't even do it to yourself. This is a family channel. So after bishop h1, I see king f2s. I do see king f2s, and that is correct, chat. Very nice. King f2. King f4, shut the door. Okay, pretty nice, but king f4 is not it. King f2 is the move. And then king to c6. I'm going into the position. You queen, I queen, same. But or is it? Or is it, chat? Or is it? You have to be very good at your calculation here. I tell my students all the time, shout out to my students, but I always tell them in lessons like this, right? Where, you know, it's all about calculation is king. So you can feel something. I think it works. How many of y'all said that even today? Oh, I think this works. Oh, I think. That's okay. That's totally fine. But does it work? And that's through calculation. Calculation is king. So before you, oh, I think it works. Well, does it? Did you calculate it? Right? So calculation here, black to move. What do, chat? Can you figure this out? Hit that man with the move, says Vishnu. G2. We got king G1 and he's done. Ooh, okay, Dante, I like it. So you guys are right. King G1 and G2 works. In fact, both of the moves work. The difference is actually 0.1 in the engine. It's so bad too. Engine says right now it's minus 12.4. And then if you play King G1, oh, okay, it's minus 12.3. Whatever you want to hear. G2, and what do? Well, he's going to take those, not everything twice about it. Snap, I snap right back just like that. D7, you have to take this. Knight takes D7, and after King takes D7, chat, what do? Finish it off. What you got? What you got, chat? Hurry up. Who got it? Happy Souls, King F3. Lerp, King F3. Mac Large, King F3. Dr. Giuliano, King F3. King F3, win for free. Nice. King F3, get the pawn. That's right, chat. I'm loving it. I'm 3. 3. That's right. 3, bro. Just 3 right here. King F3, mind squares. Look at that. Huron Dragon. You might have went through some Dvoretsky. The only way that you would say mind squares is if you went through like the first part of Dvoretsky. That's probably exactly what you did, Huron Dragon. Because the only time you hear mind squares is through Dvoretsky's in-game manual. Great job. That is mind squares in a way. Yes, in a way, kind of. Because he's actually just too far away. It's not really about mind squares. He's really just too far away. Right. This is a perfect example of like, let's see, is it like this? And it's white to move. So mind squares like this would be here and here. Or here and here and here are the mind squares right now. That's what you learn in Dvoretsky. So right now, it depends on whose move it is, right? Because if you go king here right now, you immediately lose, right? That's so crazy. Fix an opposite of mind squares. Right here, actually, that's what we're going over. What's a mind square? These right here are mind squares. So if you go like to one of the, it depends on whose move it is. But if I go here right now, which is logical, I'm about to take this pawn, but you get zugged out. Zugged out means zugzwang. So I go here and immediately you lose. Immediately you lose. So if I go, and the reason being right here, now you have to step off this pawn. And you're like, wow, how am I losing? Because it's a mind square. Like you learn that a lot from OG, we got logic. That's right, bro. You learn that from Dvoretsky, right? So in fact, you would go king d6 first. Boom. And hitting this way. So then he's forced to go here because I have to defend the pawn. I have to. And reason it depends on whose move it is. It's very important on whose move it is. So I have to go here. I have to go here to defend it. And then I go back. Bam. Because you stepped on the mind square. You step on the mind, you blow up, right? So you went to king c5. c5 and d5 were reciprocal mind squares, is what he'll say in Dvoretsky's in game. Reciprocal mind squares. But these are reciprocal mind squares here, c5 and d5. And now you have to step off the pawn, and then I take and I win, right? So it's very, very important. Mind like a trap square, that's correct, right? But here, this wasn't mind square in a way. It was really just, he was too far away. Because as soon as he gets here, like it's over. And then, yeah, that didn't happen, obviously. But in the game, in fact, this was the last move. After king f3, the game ended right here. Because no matter what you do as white, it doesn't matter. Like, I get the pawn. I'm in front of the pawn. I'm queening no matter what. Pretty easy here. Like, I mean, if you try to get back, like, you don't get there in time. Queen. Game over. Pawn in games get nuts. Oh, absolutely. Pawn in games are some of the easiest, but also some of the hardest. And it's easy because there's less pieces to calculate. There's less pieces to choose from, right? Like, oh, dude, I got a pawn, I got a king. It's easy. Like, you got a few pieces to choose from. But it's hardest because there's so many things to calculate. And also what kind of in-game is it, and etc. There's so many things here. Can't you ever play against someone who hits you with b6 is black? In fact, yes. Shout out to Simon Williams. I actually beat him with the Canty variation of the Owens defense. I actually have YouTube videos about that as well. I got tired of facing it, so I started figuring out a different way to play it. I beat Simon Williams with it. It was pretty nice. I always play bishop d3, knight e2, knight g3, castle, f3, f4, and just mate. That's it. That's it. Very easy. Very easy. You can catch it on YouTube. It's on my YouTube channel. You can type in Owens defense on my channel. You'll find it right there. Following losses, yeah. Queen Indian good? I mean, it is. All right. In fact, if you're looking for Queen's Indian, Hans Niemann's on that. But, yo, this is the end of today's video here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you saw, hit the sub button. And, of course, watch the other videos. And we'll see you guys on the next one.